Here is the treehouse. This is a description of the things I thought about and went through when making the treehouse and planning it. As you can see, it's all done now. Well, it's sort of all done. A project like this is never all the way done. There's eventually going to be a suspended tarp roof over it, starting at maybe 8 feet above the platform area and being tied on to some of the various trees around. There's also going to be a rope ladder going from the far left diagonal corner, which is where 2 tree trunks come up and split. That will, of course, go down to the ground. The considerations when you want to build a treehouse are, first of all, to figure out where the ideal treehouse would be located. Some people like a treehouse that's very high up in the air. Some people like them closer to the ground, where they're easier to build. In this case, as you'll see in pictures later, we get a little bit of both. The bottom support boards for this are only about 4 or 5 feet off the ground on this side. They're higher on the downhill side, but the whole thing is on top of a hill which runs along the back of our property and is about 8 or 9 feet high relative to ground level at the house. So the kids can play up on the tree house and still feel high above the adults, which I think is a great thing for them. Once you've figured out where you'd like to have a treehouse, and if you want a treehouse at all, you need to find some source material. I looked at several different books at the library and got some via interlibrary loan. And out of those, I chose the one that I liked the best, which seemed to have the most complete directions. And I got a copy of that one for myself from Amazon. In this case, it was David and Jeannie Stiles' Tree Houses and Playhouses You Can Build. I found it very useful, and I really liked the lacing pattern, which they have in the book, which you can see here. It's not very complex, even though it looks quite complex. I'll discuss more of that later. Once you have the book, you can start thinking about things like costs, and whether you want to build it of scrap wood or whether you want to trot down to the home improvement store and buy stuff there. My only problem in building this whole thing was that I did not calculate the costs correctly. Fortunately, we had a little extra budget to play with. The costs for this are about the same, this type, about the same as for building a deck, if you look at it on a per square foot cost. If you use lumber that you salvage from other building projects, people down the street, whatever you have available, the cost will be a lot less, obviously. But almost all of this was completely new wood. I also bought 600 feet of 1/2 inch manila rope, which is what is recommended in the books. And we had a very wide assortment of miscellaneous other things that we put on there. Description of post, take 2. On the right hand side you can see the steps, the ladder, which goes straight up. This is narrow because it's intended to only be a kid access. The nearest post is a 4x4, pressure treated, sunk in the ground about 3 feet. It is treated with tar, roofing tar on the outside, and inside the ground there it's sitting on a big flat rock and then having instant concrete around it to stabilize it. The far post of the ladder is 2 4x4s sistered together. It's not meant as a structural item, it's just for the ladder. It probably would provide some backup in case of some kind of catastrophic failure, but it's not really intended for that. As you go up that post, zoom in here, there's the main support beam. There's a little bit of spacer, that plain board cobbled together that the rope is tied around, and then this member is the bottom half of an ornamental column. We use the rest of it in a house renovation. At the top is a little cap, and the branch that suspends the main potato basket just sockets in freely. It can rotate as needed. One of the useful things about this is that if the kids manage to get the thing off the rail, get the, can we actually zoom on that? Not really. That's the regular pulley. If the kids manage to get the pulley off center, off track, I can pull out the whole thing, bring it down to a human level, recenter it, and get it back in business. Socket it in later. You can also see the two projecting rounded edge 2x16s, 2x10x16s that are the main supports. Also from this point, vantage point, you can see the stairs, which are standard stair cutouts from Home Depot, but oriented the other direction so that they are steeper. This actually made them reach the deck pretty easily. You can see the green fold-down table. There's a hinge on a skinny tree, and then a hinge with the one leg, and it all folds up nicely. You can vaguely see the rope hanging down that binds the table around the back of its support when it's up out of the way. We'll cover that a little later. The violently blue thing is a speaking tube, recycled from a pool emptying hose of some kind. The kids have a lot of fun with that. If you've seen the other movie, you get some idea of some of the fun they have with it. The flag, the flag is something the kids chose, very heraldic. It happens to be the flag that started the 100 Years' War, but the bright colors are something they liked, so they didn't really care that it was a very martial and insightful type of flag to incite such a big fight. Directly across from us you can see where the rope ladder will eventually come up. There are two pieces of rope across it right now, just so people are less likely to fall down by mistake. Also, we can see that there's a space next to where the stairs come up that does not have any railing protection. That will eventually either have a slide or have railing protection. We haven't decided yet what it's going to be. The top of the steps is also where the repositioned zip line launches from. The zip line is taken down for right now because I do not trust the plastic trolley in the cold weather. As I'm filming right now, it's about 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will be colder this winter. Also, you can see from this vantage point the brightly colored hammock underneath, and there's plenty of room for the kids to play underneath if they so desire, doing all kinds of kiddly things. There are also two small white pines under there that I only cut off at about 4 feet because I figured they might sprout and be nice even though they were in the way of the platform. I did cut around a number of trees, cut around the support trees, of course, to accommodate the platform, as well as the small oak, you'll see later, has a hole all of its own through the platform, making it very much of a friendly treehouse for the trees as much as possible. When you look at your reference work for making a treehouse, it will talk about the size bolts you need for certain sizes of tree houses and trees, and how to protect the tree as much as possible while drilling a giant hole into the side of it. You'll see that the general advice is to have really large lag screws, just one per trunk if at all possible, because the less number of times you have to drill through the tree, the happier the tree will be.